Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Not In All In, the most frequent show that we do here at notinhalloffame.com, where we just sort of like talk about whatever sort of comes to our mind. And I'm Kirk Buchner. I run this joint, and I'm here with Chris Mouradian, one of my actually really good friends who we've only met once, but uh my
In
friend
person.
in
Once in
Wisconsin.
person. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And Dave Whitlock in Texas, who I've never met, but I feel comfortable that if I go to both of those states,
Oh, absolutely.
we're gonna hang out and sort of like I'd say have a beer or two. I know Chris doesn't drink, so I will have his share.
That's right.
No, I'll take the other half.
There you go. Because although I'm not much of a drinker, I do try. Uh, I thought today we'd sort of look at the previews of the NBA and the NHL finals. Uh, I want to start off with the NBA final. We've got Oklahoma City versus Indiana. Not, I think, the final that a lot of people predicted. I think a lot of people thought OKC could sort of get here, even though they were the best team in the regular season, but they've never been tested to this point. Indiana, I slept on them completely. I did not see them getting here. The Thunder are the heavy favorite, but I think again, I'm not going to sleep on Indiana anymore. I know that the NBA, from Adam Silver to the networks who are covering this, which I believe I think goes back to ABC at this point. I'm not sure. This is not the final they wanted. Two smaller market teams with two stars who I know SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, just won the MVP. But as Chris and I talked about in some of our other, we've talked about this a lot actually. He is still not that transitional star, that transcendent star who people know if they don't watch basketball. Tyrese Halliburton definitely is not one of those people either. But this is going to be a very low rated series in terms of television. I saw an article today how in the NBA finals are actually people are not they're not necessarily making money if they're trying to scalp tickets like they thought they would. Saying that, I look at this as the opportunity that they need. It may not be the finals they want, it's the finals they need. They need to make stars, and this is an opportunity to do that. I hope the series goes 7 games. I don't think it will, but I hope it does. And I hope whoever sort of emerges, that the NBA straps a rocket to that man's back in terms of marketing. And if it is Oklahoma City, like we suspect it is, make him your new face. You need to.
Now, Kirk, are you saying that because he's Canadian or because you
Doesn't hurt.
doesn't hurt, right?
It,
Yeah.
does, it doesn't hurt, but I know Chris and I, we've talked about that a lot, though, right? European stars, Jokic, Doncic, and even Antetokounmpo,
Right.
have not become the stars they necessarily need to be, the transcendent stars. Embiid, we could sort of throw there. I know he's now an American, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference with a Canadian sort of coming in.
No,
Sort of,
I wouldn't have known he's Canadian unless I read behind the scene, read the biography. He came up through the North American ranks, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. The college system to right to the NBA. So the basketball fans have been aware of him for quite a while, watching him play, as opposed to somebody like a Doncic who, you know, first first viewings really were once he became an NBA draft pick. So
he doesn't play, quote, like a European.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So he's relatable. I would like to think to the American audience. This is actually as much as I wouldn't have predicted this or even wanted this at 2 months ago. I'm actually excited. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope fans tune in and because I think these, from what I've seen, and I've just grazed the playoffs, but both teams hustle a lot. They play team basketball. It's not, isolation one-on-one. you get to like we had LeBron and Doncic, they're kind of doing their 1-2 punch. So you're going to see a lot of solid defense, some physical play, a lot of good. They're all good shooting, just good overall schemes. And I think most of the games and some of the last round, it was feast or famine. It was either a really, really good game that went right down to the end, or it was like a 30-point blowout. It seemed
Right.
like it would just be like, well, this is over, by the second quarter. I think both teams are good enough and have proven themselves that you're going to see competitive games to the end. Like you said, Kirk, I hope it goes 7 games. I hope we get games to the fourth quarter because this NBA has been playoffs has been riddled with some last second shots, some of the miracle comebacks that the Pacers had against the Knicks in that one game, and several other. Halliburton does it time and time again. I hope he has just the last, not even taking sides. I hope he has the last second shot to win it because he's been that guy. And so I think I agree. I get frustrated at all the sports. I think the NFL is a little exempt because the stars kind of emerge on whatever market the team is. But like in the let's take the Major League Baseball for instance, when you have the Diamondbacks against the Rangers, and people say, "Oh, la, la, nobody cares about these teams." Well, they both earned their way there, and I think these are the two best teams. I think OKC we expected to be there. The Rockets were the 2 seed. They drew a very tough 7 seed in Golden State, and couldn't get past that, and that kind of weakened the field. The rest of them, in my opinion, were weak. And then you had the Pacers, which marched right through the Cavs, the Knicks, and
You got the easy one out of the way with Milwaukee losing Lillard for the
yeah,
start of the playoffs too. So
yeah, and so they basically they've lost like 12-4 so far in the playoffs. This 4 seed, which is a little bit unheard of in the NBA. Usually you get one seeds, 2 seeds, maybe a 3 seed. But so I think it's great. I can't wait to watch. Like I said, I hope for a lot of competitive games. The talent is all over the place. It's just not the name. You're just not a LeBron or a Antetokounmpo or Doncic or those guys. But I think there's a lot of stars for people to bite their teeth into if they would just tune in.
Yeah, and I think Indiana being the underdog, they don't care.
No, yeah, they
I
could
think
they
they
could care
want it
less.
that way.
Yeah.
yeah, I think outside of the first round, they probably were the underdog in every series. So that's
Mhm.
what they're used to.
Well, they beat the top team in Cleveland and the team that I thought was going to like march right through in Boston. Obviously Tatum had an injury that didn't help. Saying that, I mean, like Boston, they won the championship last year, and their best player Tatum came in with a chip on his shoulder, the way he was used on Team USA. So I thought it was going to be a Boston Cleveland final with Boston sort of like saying like, no, you're not at our level. Not I never would have had Indiana, New York. It's good. I did enjoy it. I think for Indiana to win, uh, it's not about trying to stop Shea. You can't stop him. So it's about stopping everybody else. And because SGA, even if they lose a game by 20 points, he's still going to get like not put down 30. That's just who he is now. That's how it's going to be. Uh, as I think a lot of people all are also too aren't even aware, or at least a lot of casual fans, just how good and complete Oklahoma City's defense is. What I'm really looking forward to watching is the two big men, Hartenstein against Miles Turner. I've been a fan of Turner for a long, long time, and it's. I didn't realize he was already a 10-year veteran, which is crazy, and the most tenured pacer at this point. Uh, both teams can't rely on having been there before. I think each team has one champion. And please in the comments if I'm wrong here, tell me that. I know Caruso won with the Lakers, Siakam won with the Raptors,
Yeah.
but that's only like one player each. This could be the more fun this is, the better it is for the league. And again, I know that the ratings are going to be awful, you're just gonna have to eat the crow and just do something with that, like the taste of shit, because that's how it's going to be perceived by a casual fan. That's it's going to have to be.
Another thing too with the two teams here is so the Oklahoma City franchise has an NBA title with when they were the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah.
Indiana has ABA titles but no NBA titles. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a new champion. Put it that to kind of put it nicely here with
Yeah.
so that's I think that's good for the league too.
Do they even like hang the banners of the Sonics wins in Oklahoma City?
I have no idea.
Probably not.
Somebody I saw on Twitter, so it must be true, posted that they don't recognize the Supersonics history in their thing. I'll say, like the Titans do the Oilers, and you got to Trouton.
I think that's true because Seattle, they worked out the same with the way Cleveland Browns, right? Where I think Seattle, the city of Seattle owns the history, but technically it's their history until Seattle has a team again. Is my
Right.
understanding.
I think that's right. So as you said, you wouldn't go in there and see the banners hanging for the Supersonics. So
Yeah, I mean it's not like it's not like the Cowboys there in Oklahoma are going, I mean I remember those great days with Jack Sigma.
Gus Williams, yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening there.
Downtown Freddie Brown.
Oh, nice deep cut there. I like that.
Milwaukee guy.
I was going to go back to Sean Kemp, but you guys,
Hey, Sean Kemp's got his own cannabis place here.
Why is that not a surprise?
Yeah. Here's another not surprise in Seattle. It's been broken into twice in the last 3 months.
I didn't realize Seattle was that sort of place, but okay.
Well, I mean, if you can get away with it, I guess this is the city for you. I tried not to be political because I got some political stuff, might possibly later. I don't know. But yeah, let's I think we're all on the same page here. OKC is the favorite. This is where I sort of like love this sort of thing because I've got no rooting interest. Whoever's probably losing is who I'm cheering for at that point in time.
Yeah.
It's just so OKC's up by 80 to 78. All right, I'm cheering for Indiana. Oh, Indiana's up now by a point. I'm cheering for OKC. That's the type of series I'm hoping for. I hope it's so good. They need it to be good. And if it's not, you market whoever the hell wins this whole thing. That's your guy. Because you need somebody. You need a megastar under 30. Which is crazy to say because we're going to go into this to hockey where there are no megastars, really.
Really?
Well, okay. Who's the most famous hockey player right now?
Connor McDavid.
Okay, Ovechkin or McDavid. Let's say McDavid, right? Connor McDavid is not as he is well known as Shea in the American audience.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Take a step off of Shea, who's just now emerging this year. Connor, probably the last 3 to 4 years, has been one of the top 3 to 4 players.
Yeah, I think you take the finals last year along with the Four Nations earlier this year. There's been a lot of exposure here in the States for that.
We're saying this as sports fans. So do our wives know that who Connor McDavid is?
My wife does, yeah.
Okay.
One out of 3 of us is doing.
You're the tiebreaker there, Dave.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Okay.
She knows Alex Ovechkin, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of where I'm going with that is like, do casuals and non-fans know who these people are? And I don't think there's a hockey player that exists right now.
Especially under the age of 30 or entering their prime. Like there's Ovechkins, there's Crosby's still around. But the emerging, which there's a bunch of great emerging stars.
Sure.
They're spread out and then we'll get into it, but you have a lot more team play with like the way Florida plays and
but hockey can sort of be marketed without necessarily your superstars.
Right.
Basketball, not necessarily, and that's sort of a byproduct of a game when it's 5-on-5. And yes, I know hockey sort of 6-on-6, but realistically, your top hockey player is playing 24 minutes a game. Your top basketball player is playing 40, maybe plus.
45, yeah.
Yeah. Depth in basketball, well, both of these teams, like OKC and Indiana, are deep, but it's not the same as it is in hockey.
Yeah, you're not rolling 4 lines out there in basketball.
Absolutely. Or 3 sets of defensemen. It's just not the same in terms of that. And a blowout, maybe we're gonna see a fight.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get to the Stanley Cup Finals, which Edmonton, Florida, we have a rematch. I had to look up when the last rematch was. Was not until I think it was 2009, Detroit, Pittsburgh. And it's a fascinating thing with two teams who have been here. I erroneously picked against Edmonton in round one, as Chris can tell you.
Same. Same. I've picked against them every round.
Oh, you did too. Okay, yeah. It's the same issue for the Oilers in almost every series. They've got the top player. They've got the second best player. 3 through 24. And here we are again against a team that knows how to beat them. Now has Brad Marchand. Edmonton's hungrier. And Florida's got the grit players who don't care. Brad Marchand does not care and feel any sympathy for the Edmonton Oilers. Matthew Tkachuk feels no sympathy for the Edmonton Oilers. This team has got 4 potential Hall of Famers to Edmonton's 2. With Marchand, Tkachuk, Barkov, and Bobrovsky. And the 2 for Edmonton are obviously Draisaitl and Connor.
Perry, but
Corey Perry, yes. Thank you. I always forget about Corey Perry. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Although we haven't really seen much of Corey Perry.
Yeah, he's not the player he was 15 years ago.
No, you're right. Thank you for that. I read something today that I didn't know, and apparently the players didn't know until it was announced. The Oilers, I guess they're trying to sort of like get some of that. You heard the thing about the Lucky Looney in the Salt Lake City Olympics?
Yeah, dropped out of the face-off dot.
Yeah. So what they did is for 6 of their players, they went to their minor league teams or junior teams, got ice from those arenas, and incorporated that into their ice. So that would be for like McDavid, Pickard, Skinner, Kane, Nurse, and Nugent Hopkins. I mean, they're playing on their superstition, because if you notice, none of them sort of like touched the Western Conference trophy.
Oh no, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, McDavid picked it up. Yeah. Florida didn't.
Florida didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, because they didn't last time, so they did this time.
I don't remember what I know Florida did. They lost. They didn't touch it last year. They won. They didn't touch it this year.
Yeah.
We'll see. And I don't remember what Edmonton did last year, but I know that this year they did.
Yeah, so they're playing with the superstition. They do have home ice.
Yeah.
Which they didn't have. This is going to be it's got to be a fun series. For me, Edmonton's key is somebody who shit the bed in the early part of the playoffs, got put back in because of an injury to Calvin Pickard, and it's Stuart Skinner, who has been lights out for the last 7 games. 1.67 GAA, 941 save percentage.
Yeah, Dallas didn't give him an easy run there. They were peppering him with shot after shot, and he was standing on his head. And every series, when we kind of previewed it, he was always, for me, the
weak link.
Yeah, the weak spot of that team, why I always felt like, the other team had the advantage here. That's why they're going to win.
And they
So fuck it. This time Oilers are going to win. I don't want them to, so I'm gonna cheer for them, and I'm gonna throw the reverse hex on them, and
Oh God, that's
oh, that's right, because you're a
doom now.
Vancouver fan. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So go Coilers.
So yeah, so Stuart Skinner was a Sportsman of the Week a couple weeks ago. He's pitching shutouts like he's Sandy Koufax in the 1960s. I mean, he's lining up, facing everything. I mean, Dallas was a really good team, and if I had to pick a team going into that series, I would have definitely picked Dallas. I think the rematch element. I feel like both teams are in the right mindset. Florida has said this is a business trip. We know how to get there. We're follow the script. We're not doing this. Edmonton's like learned a lot last year. We're coming back. We know, we know what it takes. That's kind of a cliche, right? Oh, now we're going to try harder. We're going to, really understand. Each round of the playoffs has its own flavor, but I think the star power at the top of the Oilers lines, particularly with McDavid, is probably get a slight advantage, but Florida, you just can't count them out. I guess going back to our last discussion, these aren't the top two teams, right? Uh, uh, Kirk, how's the President's Trophy team doing? Are they still in the playoffs?
We might just kick you
So the answer to
for the
that
chat
one there,
here.
Dave.
Right. And my Washington Capitals, the Eastern Conference, they got pretty much, they didn't have much left, ran out of gas. And so another series where you're dealing with basically teams that weren't dominant during the whole season. In other words, they weren't just 10, 15 points ahead of the rest. But a rematch. So they're kind of like the teams in I keep alluding to Major League Baseball, but there was a time and place where it didn't matter where the Yankees finished in the regular season, you knew they'd be in the World Series. You didn't matter where the Astros finished in the regular season, you knew they'd be in the World Series. These are those two teams, definitely the best two teams. And so, like the last one, I hope it goes 5, 6, 7 games. I hope we get down to third periods with pulled goalies with one goal difference. See some action there, a couple of overtimes, and there's also the same chatter of ratings. Okay, you don't have the big markets, but it was this same markets as last year. Hopefully, the Canadian market tunes in because of Edmonton and Florida has got some big names on it. So I think it's gonna be a great series. I hope both go 7 games.
I think Canada will, except for Calgary.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
that's probably the only section of the country that will not be cheering for them in any capacity, which
that's
that's
fair. I
yeah.
didn't cheer for the Texas Rangers in the World Series that they won, just as a data point. I cheer for just about anybody but those guys.
Mhm.
Don't forget, Toronto had Florida down 2 games in their series, and was leading in game 3. And Florida came back, won that game, and pretty much has been on this path since. So they were on stepping on a banana peel there, ready to slide out of the playoffs, and were able to right that ship. So kind of shows their mental toughness, their team toughness, and the ability to pull it together and get the goals, get the wins they need when they need them. So don't count them out. But yeah,
Oh, no.
Oilers, yeah, let's do it, Oilers, yay!
I still think they're the underdog, though they have home ice. It's just when you look at sort of like the people behind those other stars. I mean, like Bennett, Reinhardt,
Ekblad,
Vermege, Ekblad. Yeah,
Verhaeghe,
that's another great one. Yeah, uh,
Jones,
yeah,
nice acquisition.
that's right. Yeah. I mean, sort of a product of the Toronto Raptors, if you want to think about it that way.
Oh, because of Popeye, yeah.
Because he was born in Canada, so
Mhm.
sort of like gravitated towards hockey.
Yeah.
So here's something interesting I sort of learned today. A random thing. Like, what was it? Do I have all that here or no? No, actually, I don't. I learned something and then I just forgot it. So let's just sort of forget where I was going with that.
We'll just cut that.
I don't know. Maybe I drank too much. Actually, I know I did, but that's okay. Hey, we didn't do predictions here for this. So like, I guess you're predicting Edmonton, Chris?
Yep, I'm going full on Edmonton curse reverse whammy, whatever kind of deal.
All right, Dave.
I'm gonna have to go Panthers in seven. Game seven goes to two overtimes.
Okay, I'm doing my reverse curse, so because everything I usually pick is wrong, so I'm picking Florida. Yeah, Florida in six. Uh, there's another thing sort of like going on in sports that I kind of want to talk about, and I'm going to try to tread as lightly as I can. Uh, there's been sort of a lot of talk, and it just keeps going and going and going about transgenders in sports. But I don't want to talk about someone who's trans, but someone who is, near as I can tell, intersex. And in the world of boxing, there's a lot of people who thought that there was a trans person who won in their respective weight category. Apologies, I don't know the weight category. It doesn't really matter. But that's Aman Khalif of Algeria. And the boxing organization that sort of like controls all that, the World Boxing Organization, I know I got that wrong, but they've just now said they're going to be like following sex testing. And there was a couple of things that were leaked that sort of shown that a man had, male chromosomes. I actually feel real bad for her. And here's why I'm going to sort of like say that. This is not one of those cases where you've got someone who is trans who sort of like grew up as a man or a boy, knowing that they're transferring into something else that they're not. I don't think Khalif had a damn clue. And the reason I say that is because they grew up in Algeria. I don't think I have to sort of like go and sort of like talk about anything more than that. But let's just say that their LGBT record is 0. Fair to say?
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as this person was aware, as they're growing up with, I mean, if you have inner testes, how the hell do you know that? I guess you don't, unless you get some kind of X-ray MRI. I don't know what the hell you do. I'm not a doctor, never played one on TV either. But if that person had external parts, do you not think that in Algeria they would have sort of done something at this point? Of course they would have. So here you have this person who probably can't box anymore. Probably, I don't even know if they completely understand what it is they are. I don't know. But what do you do with people in that category? And we've seen that in South Africa with Casper Semenya. Do you both remember that individual? Okay.
Mm-hmm. The track athlete.
Yeah. So for those who aren't, Castor was a middle distance runner from South Africa and was in a similar position. Grew up believing that they were female. Although when you look at Castor and you look at Aman Khalif, it's like, But if that's what you're assigned, that's what you think you are. And what the track organization did, and again, I can't remember the name of the organization, doesn't matter. What they did is to sort of like protect or like ban Castor. They implemented testosterone rules only on the disciplines she was good at. So the 400, 800, 1500. Not a 200, not a 100, not a, what's beyond 1500, I guess 5,000. Which was basically, I don't know how that didn't get more press, because that was clearly designed against one person and one person only. But what do you do when you're in that situation and you don't know that you're not what you thought you were supposed to be. So I feel bad for them. I truly do. And I don't have a solution. I know some people will say, well, just create this open slash trans category, but they don't want to compete in that because indirectly, like, who are you competing against?
Well, it's not fair for them to compete against the women when they are not the same
No,
as the women in there. So I don't think you can continue to let them in. I remember with the Olympics with the boxer, they they knew ahead of time. They just didn't want
good.
to
That's true.
make the they're still kind of following the orthodoxy at the point there because it hadn't really shifted at that point. But no, you can't penalize the female athletes that have worked their tails off to get to that point and to be there. And yeah, it's one person, it's two people, whatever. It's obviously a different situation than a lot of what we're seeing in the high schools and things like that now with the track season going on. But you try to be as fair as you can, but not everything can be fair to everybody at all times. And I think that's just one of those situations where you kind of got to be on the side of the safety of those that are there, the ones that have worked, that you can identify properly and let them compete for their championships and not.
Well, and you said the word safety, right? And I think if you're running track, you're not
Safety, because we were talking about the boxer
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
typically.
So, and to your point, Chris, yeah, they knew that this person was had possibly flunked a test before, and now that's sort of like come out that we're not, I mean, that was a rumor. Now it's a fact, I guess, from what we've sort of learned at this point. But what I don't understand is how, and I mentioned this earlier, how can tracks sort of like say, all right, so here's a rule for certain things. Boxing going into the Paris Olympics said, hey, what's on your passport? That's what they did.
Yeah, and when you have things like that being manipulated by um, government entities in certain areas to allow things that to get by, you know, you got to go to with something as dangerous as boxing can be, especially when you're putting somebody with more muscle mass against somebody with less muscle mass and saying this is fair when it's really not. I think then you do have to go to the basis common denominator and just have a flat rule. Speaking back to your track, thing that clearly you're right. I mean that was done kind of ad hoc and probably inappropriately, and it should have been across all disciplines. And we can look back at that now and say that was bullshit, but it is what it was at the time. It needs to be fixed going forward, and instead of trying to eliminate one person, you eliminate it for everybody, as opposed to, as you described it, like a single person rule.
Yeah, and that's sort of what we see here, and it's one thing if you're sort of manipulating the system. It's quite another if you've got no control over your genetics. Zero. I don't even have an answer here. I don't. I don't, but I guess where I sort of like wanted to go there, because I think there's still a lot of people who think that Khalif was trans and did this on, I won't say on purpose, but and that wasn't the case at all.
It is a little different flavor, like you're saying. There are genetic birth defects is the wrong word, but you be born with both parts of both that gives you some additional testosterone and things like that. So what you guys' conversation just got me thinking, and we've had age-old debates about PEDs in baseball and things like that. Where testosterone levels are exceeding those that don't do these things, and it's a little similar posture. I think cycling world, which if I recall, Chris may be a cycling fan as well, but you go back to like Alberto Contador, and he like tested for too much testosterone. He said he ate a too juicy of a steak that had beef elements in it. But we know that the culture of cycling at the time, and I love Lance Armstrong and what he did, but I'm not going to fool myself into thinking he didn't do things that like we're describing in the track and field element that gave him a distinct advantage from a internal chemical standpoint. And so I agree with you, Kirk. Like it's a tough. What do you do? Do you completely put these people on the side? These people's not adequate. Do you put these victims on the sideline and not let them compete? Do you let them compete at the expense of other people? There's been swimmers of high profile that have been there. So we're talking track athletes, boxing, all these sports that in which that can manifest itself. And I mean, if you look at some of the great female athletes of our era, they seem to have more testosterone or strength. Brittany Griner, or even some of the swimmers that have these broad shoulders, and they just look different.
Part of that other category that I just
right. And so I think we're probably because of the headlines and all that, focusing on a sub element of that. And so I don't have a good answer either. We want competition to be fair, but we want to let people compete, and somewhere in between lies the answer. But the three of us probably aren't going to solve it today, but I think it's a worthwhile discussion.
And part of me also thinks that neither should us. This doesn't affect men's sports. This doesn't affect men, period. Yeah. This is something that women will have to figure out how they want to move forward. I mean, it's not going to affect. There has not been to this. I don't believe, and I could be proven wrong on this. I don't think there's the case. I don't think there's ever been a case where a trans man has taken the spot of any biological man in any kind of sport. I know I believe in race walking, there's someone who's pretty good, but they didn't make the Olympics. I think his name is Chris Mosier, but again, he didn't.
Is there any room for a Bruce Jenner discussion here, or is that a different show on a different day?
Bruce, Caitlin, fuck, I don't even know, because that throws me off too. Because as all of you, you're both members of the panel for the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. So like when I have Jenner's profile, I have Caitlin, quote, Bruce Jenner. I don't fucking know what I'm supposed to write there, because I get thrown off because Caitlin, Bruce, Jenner, whatever, describes her, how their kids just say, oh, that's my crazy dad.
I look at it.
What am I supposed to think?
I think it's Bruce, because Bruce, when he won the medals and competed, and now
you're right, but I mean, like, I just want to be. I'm the public figure here, so like, I'm the one who's going to get the headache. I'm the one who's going to get the death threats. Huh?
As it should be,
Yes, that's right. So like, if you have a problem with anything that Chris and Dave say, don't take it out on them. Take it out on me.
Yeah, Mr. Beachcomber up there.
Take it out on me, because apparently I'm the problem for everything. So that's okay. I got
the first problem we solved today, I think.
Yeah,
the first problem we solved today.
Yeah, the first problem. Yeah, just like yeah. We don't want any smoke. Just give it all to Kirk. He's good. He doesn't have a problem. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I honestly think that the women will have to figure this out once and for all. And we're not that far off from Joanna Mann becoming real. Hey, speaking of that, hey, how the hell did they not notice that she had no college credentials? I mean, if you're going to pretend to sort of like that you're some random person coming in the WNBA, maybe like pretend you're from like a Lesotho or some other random African country where nobody can track that.
You realize that was a Hollywood script.
Yes, I do.
Have you seen Angels in the Outfield? Perhaps you'll understand how not everything you see in sports is as realistic
Hi,
as you
Dave,
would
have you
like it
met
to
me for
be.
the first time? This is what I do.
Absolutely.
I excel at sort of
They give you shit
helping,
over it.
looking at the absurd. I spent 20 minutes the other day trying to explain to my wife, who never saw the movie, why the Cannonball Run made no sense.
Why are you the killer of joy?
I'm not the killer of joy. I love that movie. All right, fine. We're here. Let's talk about that. You remember the end of that movie? Chris, you're a race guy. I know you saw that movie.
One or two.
I'm talking about just one. Just one.
Okay.
Because here's the problem with that. So at the end of the movie, they're all racing there, sort of like the end, and then Burt Reynolds sort of like takes everybody down, and it's Adrian Barbeau and Dom DeLuise sort of like at the end.
Yeah.
And then Dom DeLuise decides, oh, he's got to save a dog or something, whatever the fuck. Adrian Barbosa then punches the clock first.
Mm-hmm.
The first 30 minutes of that movie was set up how everyone sort of left at different times. They left last. So he could have saved the dog potentially and still won the damn race.
But where's the fun in that? Because then you get the scene where he gets to get berated at the end there, and then they have the party. And
well, okay, yeah, they're berating the special needs guy. That's not right. Wait till I go on my whole thing on how the Smurfs are all communists.
Well, everybody knows that, yeah.
Well, but everybody knows that. They were
dressed the same, look the same, perform the same duties. Followed one supreme leader.
There's only one female.
Only one female, yeah. Gargoyle was clearly the United States trying to.
No. Gargamel was clearly Jewish.
Okay.
Huh? The hook nose.
All right.
And communists back then, they were anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Gargamel. He looked Jewish, and his cat was named Azrael. Israel. Huh?
Oh.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you build your damn Smurf houses. Hefty Smurf didn't have a better house than Lazy Smurf.
Yeah. And Lazy Smurf got the same amount of food as Hefty Smurf, depending on how much.
Lazy didn't have to do shit.
Still got the same amount as everybody else.
I mean, like, if I was in Smurf Village, I want to be dipshit Smurf.
Might as well.
Yeah, I can be an asshole, and you're still giving me the same amount of Smurf berries. I got the same shot at Smurfette.
This thing's going way up.
Swipe right. We all look the same. All right, this went off the rails even for me. So we'll close this off here. And wherever you are, wherever you may be, make today count. Check out everything that we're doing here on the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, www.theUSAHOF.com. Voting is open now at this point, so you can help us decide who's going to be part of the third class of the USAHOF. And also, after you've done that, check out Dave's blog, the Sportsman of the Week.
LHD on sports. Yeah. LHD_on_sports.
Yep.
On the old X machine.
Sportsman of the Week just released Pascal Siakam, Indiana Pacers.
There you go.
First Indiana Pacers to ever win Sportsman of the Week in almost 700 weeks.
How many other African-born people?
Great question. Do you consider Chris Froome an African-born person? I think he was from South Africa.
Then yes.
It's Africa, yeah.
Yeah, so a few. More than zero.
More than zero. As opposed to the Robert Downey Jr. film Less Than Zero.
Another good film.
Yeah, except for when he sort of like he had to take it up the ass, but that's another story. Man, I was seeming so woke there until that last sentence.
Don't do drugs.
I never do drugs. I
No,
only,
you do drugs, you end up having to do things you don't want to do.
oh,
The movie, yeah.
Yeah.
the movie. Okay. I was gonna say, like, I've never done drugs. I only ever sold them. But anyway,
Fair enough.
yeah, too much again.
You, you gave your great exit, and now this has all ruined it. So either you can
Not
give
the
it
first time, won't be the last. Take care, everybody.